Hey there, it's Stephanie from Janku, and today I'm going to cover design tokens in Penpot. This is a brand new feature brought to Penpot. It is a cool feature because design tokens help us keep design consistent throughout different websites or products or whatever you're designing. It's a great way to make sure that if multiple people are working on the same project, they are using the same colors and styles and fonts and so on. So let's get to it. If you open a new Penpot draft, and you can take a look and see the difference already in the interface. Previously there were layers and assets, but now we can see there are tokens. So we're going to click that tokens category. And when you first look at tokens, you can see that the theme section, the sets, everything is blank. So you're going to start off with having to create some tokens, and I would recommend starting off the basics. So starting off what colors you're going to work with, or maybe what border radiuses you want on your buttons, or whatever you're designing for. We'll start with that. We're going to start adding some of those colors. Now, to make this process a little easier, what I've done is gone ahead and taken a screenshot from actually one of Penpot's videos on how to use design tokens. These are the colors that they've used. These are the names they've assigned to those colors. That is the code for the color. And this right here is the name for the design tokens based on these tokens. And then these names are tokens assigned to these tokens. So there's a layering effect. The first layer is the name you assign to the color. Then there's this token, which refers to the color. But as you can see, this light mint 100 is called the color primary, and so is this purple 100. Let's say we want to just see the dark theme. These are listed under the dark theme. We want to see this color if we're referring to color primary. But if we're in the light theme, we want to see this color, purple, in the color primary. It gives us the ability to have one design but toggle between different colors, and not just colors. We're talking a lot about colors, but there's other things available for design tokens that you can add, and you can even add calculations into the design tokens. So let's just start off with creating one design token here. I'm going to go to the color section. I'm going to go over to the plus sign. We're going to get this pop-up that says create new color token. I'm going to create this mint 100 right here. So the name of the color is mint -100, and the value, because we're selecting a color, I can either enter the value of the color, or I can select this square and it comes up with a color picker widget, like anywhere here, or make it transparent. But because I already have the color code, I think what I'll do is I'll enter it there. So let me just retype this because I exited out. And then the color code is 7EFFF5, and you don't have to enter the pound sign. The pound sign will automatically appear once you start typing in the color code. So you can see under this message, resolved value, it's found the color. And this is really useful when we look at aliases in the future. So I'm going to go along and save that one. And you can see that it's added one. So there's only one design token, but as we add more tokens, this number will increase. So we have that mint 100. Let me just show you one more here. So let's create a second one. We're going to create the mint 200, and we're going to add a value of 00, D1B8. And see, it's found that color value, and we're going to save. And there's our second token. We can continue doing that, but going to move on with the next segment. I'm also going to show you how to import design tokens. If, let's say, you were working on another project, or you had a JSON file with the design tokens, there are ways to import. You can see that global under sets has been created, and that basically encompasses all the design tokens that you're creating. So that'll automatically populate. That's good. You can just leave that there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two other sets, and one set's going to be the dark and one set's going to be the light, and they're Each set is going to house its own colors, and it's going to house its own design tokens that reference the original colors. So I'm going to head over to sets. I'm going to hit that plus sign, and then I'm going to type dark, hit enter, and it's created now a dark set. And now I'm going to go back to the plus sign, and I'm going to enter light. And that's going to, and I'm going to hit enter on that one, and that's going to create a light set. Just remember to see what design tokens live under what sets. You have to click the words themselves, not the check marks. The check marks, I believe, activate the different set, but as far as toggling between the different ones, you need to click the actual words. Because what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've check marked the dark, and I thought I was in the dark set, but actually I was really in the light set. So just make sure that you're doing that. So let's start off with the dark set. So you can see that there's no design tokens created. That makes sense. They're all living currently in the global set. So we're going to go back to dark, and I'm going to go ahead over to the color just like I did previously. I'm going to hit plus. I'm going to start my next design token that's going to reference that mint 100 that I created. I'm going to enter the name, color dash primary, and then I'm going to go down to the value. Now the value is not going to be the actual hex number. It's not going to be the actual color. It's going to be the design token referencing the color. So in order to reference another design token, you always need to start with a curly bracket. I entered a curly bracket, and now I'm going to start naming the other design token that I mentioned. So mint 100 is the one that I created, and then I'm going to close off that curly bracket. And as you can see, this message here is bringing up that color. Let me save that here so you can see. So it created color primary, but if we go back to global and we look, so mint 100, that's the name, and that's the correct color. Oops. Just change that whole, don't want to do that. So I'm going to go back to dark, create a second one just for another example here. The second one on this list is the color primary dark. The value for that is curly braces, and I'm going to reference that mint 200. Close that with curly braces and save. Oops, actually what I did here is I put periods or dots here instead of a hyphen. So I made a little mistake, but it's very easy to fix. I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to hit edit token. I'm just going to go over and change that period to a hyphen. I'm going to click save. That is fixed. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's say we added all 4 of these. Now we're going to go over to the light, and we're going to do this all over again. Under color, we're going to hit plus. Going to add, color primary. Now notice, we've already made a primary color in the dark with the mint green. Now we're making a primary color in the light with the light purple. So now, and here's the thing, this is not going to work. I'm going to reference that purple token, but I don't believe I created one yet. So when I enter this, it's going to error out. You're going to see this error, and that's because I didn't add one. But we can fix that, because what I'll do is I'm going to import more tokens. But before I do that, let's just do one last thing here. Now, once we add all those tokens, what we would do next, we're going to add third or fourth category here. Now, in the video that I watched with Penpot's tutorial, they named it semantic. Basically, what this category is, deciding what colors should be attributed to what things. So for instance, the design tokens we're going to have under here is going to be button primary background default. Anytime a color is labeled this, we are going to know that the button is going to have a background default color of that mint, that light mint 100 color. Also this, the button primary border. So the border of the button should be this color. So we're basically instructing through the design tokens which assets on your design get which colors. Just like we just did with the color primary, we're going to link this name to the color primary. And the color primary is linked to both the mint and the purple. Let's go ahead and do that. So I have the semantic here. I go down, I've selected it. I've made sure I'm selected it. And you know it's selected because down in this window right here, it says tokens-semantic. I'm going to go to color. I'm going to go over to the plus, and we're going to get that window once again. And I'm going to start naming the buttons. So BTN, primary. You can have any sort of naming convention you want. They do recommend WC3 naming conventions. Now for the value, this particular part of the button, we're going to reference the primary color. So the primary color, we're going to enter the curly brackets, dash primary, and end curly brackets. And as you can see, it's pulled that color all the way from mint 100, and we're going to hit save. So there's actually a total of 4 tokens. And I'm going to go over to my older project. As you can see, I was working on it here. I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to export the design tokens I've already created, which is going to download as tokens 1 now. I'm going over to my other, this is my other project. I know they look exactly the same, but this is a different one. As you can see, there's not any real amount of design tokens here. And I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to import, and I'm going to select tokens 1. I'm going to open that, and if you take a look, I have a bunch of tokens that just downloaded here. Global, you'll notice I added all the colors here. The sections for dark and light, I actually named them green and purple in this one. So just to make it consistent, I'm going to right click, I'm going to rename the green and rename that dark, and in the purple, I'm going to rename that light. So I've created a button here. So what you should do with your design tokens, so this is the base level where you have all your colors. Now, if I were just to select it and then go over to a color, so let's say we're gonna go over to this mint 100 and we right click, it asks you if you want to fill or you want to add the color to the stroke, which is the border. So in this case, I'll try fill. Oh, okay, that didn't work because global was not checkmarked here. Just make sure these are all checkmarked. Okay, let's try that one more time. There we go. So make sure that's checkmarked. I want to change the border, so I'll change the stroke to that. And then the button I want to change to this mint 900, so I'll change that. So that's changed that. We could do this for each button, but it doesn't really make sense. Sure, we'll have the correct colors, but let's say we have like 30 buttons on a website and we want to just apply, the green, but then we want to switch to purple to see how it looks. So what we can do is we can go to the semantic, and this is basically, I've just gone ahead and added all, like I said, all 4 of those tokens there. And if I look at the token, they're just referencing like the color primary, they're referencing that last token. I'm going to go over to the button, I'm going to select it. The primary background color of a button should be this color, so I'm going to right click and fill. So that's instructing Penpot right now that which colors are assigned to which design tokens. So while we have this still selected, now we want to do the border. So this is the border color right here, button primary border default. So I'm going to right click that and select stroke. So you can see that's colored the edge. Now for the text, I'm going to select the text, and this is the primary text color. So now I'm going to right click and I'm going to fill that color for the button. So now we have a complete design. So now here's the really cool part. If we select this whole button and now we come up here and we uncheck the light, which is currently what we're at. The purple is identified as light. We're going to uncheck that and it's going to toggle to green. How cool is that? You can now see what the button looks in different colors. Now, why did that work? Well, it worked because the design tokens are called the same thing in the light and the dark. And depending on which ones we turn on or off is what colors are going to be activated. We can go ahead and create a theme, and we're going to say light, and I'm going to add another theme. Oh, actually, first of all, I'm going to select what the light theme is. So I'm going to select global. I'm going to select light, and I'm going to select semantic. I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to add another theme, and it's going to be dark. And I'm going to save that theme, and I'm going to select global, and I'm going to select dark, and I'm going to select semantic, and I'm going to save that one. And then I'm going to close. And so basically all this does is it gives you a way to toggle between the two themes. Gives it a nice UI that way. Now there's obviously a lot more here that I didn't cover. There's border radius. You can also add tokens. So like we go back to our global and we go to, there's stroke width, there's opacity. So let's say we want opacity. Let's add that. And we're going to say opacity 50%. Oh, I can't add a percent, but what we can do here is, can we add a percent? Yes. So I'm going to hit save. If I click button and apply the opacity, it just automatically makes that 50% opacity. So you can imagine how you may apply this to the whole dark and light palette. It's the same kind of structure. If you want to learn more about design tokens, you can always check out Penpot's blog. Laura Kalbag has written a very useful blog about how to use design tokens and why they're useful. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to start your own project with design tokens, please follow the link on this video. I have it right here, and enjoy.